access the podcast of OA. Located deep within Sector 14845 and powered by the Emerald Light of Will, the podcast of OA is your guide to the Green Lantern universe. Hosted by Lantern Myron Rumsey, the podcast of OA begins now.
Hey, Green Lantern fans, this is the podcast of OA, episode number 234. I'm Myron Rumsey, and I'm joined by my friend on the other end, Mr. Bova. And we're recording this the week of Thanksgiving, so we hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving. For those of you in the United States, those of you who are not, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Thanksgiving, but it's basically a day of pigging out, but it's really a day of giving thanks for the blessings we have in our lives. And one of those blessings I have is to be able to talk to my friend Phil here and talk about Green Lantern.
I know, I'm stoked. I feel like it's been a while. We were supposed to get on last week, but things got out of my control. So
it's been a rough couple of weeks.
Yeah. And the holidays aren't even here yet. Great.
Right. I think you and I have both had a couple of lousy weeks. We're both in need of comic book therapy, and I can't think of any better way of doing that than talking about this issue of Green Lantern, because this issue is fire.
Well, it's really good. Really good week for it.
Yeah. I really needed it, and so I'm happy to be talking about it. But before we get to the comic stuff, we've got some Green Lantern news here and there. Not a whole lot of stuff. Sideshow has announced a new Hal Jordan premium format figure. I'm skipping this one myself. I didn't like the sculpt and the painting on this one. I don't know if you saw the pictures. $700 is a lot to pay. I've got, if you see in the background, I've got a few Sideshows already, so it has to be something special to make me want to drop that kind of money. I just did not like the sculpt in the body of that one, unfortunately. My wife was like, yes.
Little out of my range, so I'm going to have to do a hard pass.
Yeah, same here. Other big news, I shouldn't say big news. Todd McFarlane is continuing to do a bunch of Green Lantern stuff, of course. He's doing a Batman as Green Lantern figure. And
that was an actual yawn, but it just so happened to be well placed.
Excellently timed. But Batman is Green Lantern, based on the Ethan Van Sciver art back from early in the Jeff Johns run, when Hal gave Batman his power ring to try on. But then I just saw today in social media, our good friend, the Emerald Enthusiast, Donnie, posted some information about, apparently there's going to be a Kyle Kilowog 2-pack next year, which I'm excited for, a Kilowog figure.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be a Hal figure finally. Now, there was the Hal and the Dawnbreaker 2-pack, but there hasn't been a straight up Hal Jordan figure. I'm hoping that they change the costume a little bit, and more than anything, I hope they do a better head sculpt. I've liked a lot of the figures from McFarlane, but on the human characters, I just have not been a fan of some of the facial sculptures. I didn't like the Hal one from the Dawnbreaker one at all.
I hope if they ever make a Kyle Rayner one, man, I hope they're careful with his visor. A lot of people get that wrong, and it gets real clunky looking and just kind of comical.
And they've done a couple of figures with Kyle already, so I'm not sure what they're going to do different. Maybe it'll be the classic outfit. They did that, but it was kind of a limited release. We'll see. There were no pictures yet. It was just kind of listed out there. And then the last bit of Green Lantern news I have, other than little solicitations that we saw coming up, which looks like it's going to be the return of Kyle Rayner and potentially a backup feature, because both Jeremy Adams and Ron Mars are listed as writers for the February Green Lantern issue. No backup is listed in this. That's when Sin Sun starts on his own. So the assumption is it's a backup feature.
But they need to do a big Kyle story.
Maybe, and maybe it ties in, because that issue, there's a lot of, I don't want to spoil anything for people beyond what we've already just said, but there could be a collision course between Kyle and Hal, potentially. But the other thing, which I think is kind of a big deal, I'm a big board game guy myself, and I love not necessarily classic board games, modern board games. And a company called CMON, short for Cool Mini or Not, they do a series of games called Zombicide, and it's basically you fighting against hordes of zombies. And they recently did a Marvel Zombies adaptation where they kind of combine those things into their rule sets and come up with some new stuff. And it's a very miniatures heavy game. Well, they are right now doing a Kickstarter which is their normal model. That's what they normally do. And normally it's a little cheaper because you get a lot of extra goodies that way. But it's $130 plus shipping. It's pretty expensive.
Pretty pricey.
But a ton of minis. And it is an adaptation of Deceased. So you can play as the uninfected heroes fighting the infected heroes, as well as some generic zombie type characters. And then there's also some people that you might be able to rescue and so on, bystanders and stuff. But you can play as the Green Canary is one of the things you can do. And she's a playable character. And Hal is in one of the zombie characters that you can fight against. And like all Kickstarters, I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with a Kickstarter, but they're adding new content every day that gets added in at no additional cost. And they keep adding more hero characters, more zombie characters. There's a zombie version of Green Canary, so there could be hero versions of some of the zombie characters. So we'll see. They don't necessarily follow the plot lines exactly. I was kind of disappointed. I would have preferred Blackest Night, but I guess it's not relevant at this point, and maybe that's harder to adapt. But I'm excited for it. I haven't taken the plunge and backed it yet. I probably will, just because while the game will come to retail, it'll be about the same price point, and you won't get all the Kickstarter exclusives. So I'll probably end up backing it at some point myself, but we'll see.
Cool.
So
more
anyway,
Green Lantern stuff. More Green Lantern
stuff. It's things are kind of picking up. The other thing was on social media, somebody asked James Gunn about the Green Lanterns show, if he could make any comment, and James Gunn's only response was the fire emoji. So I don't know what that means. It's burning down and not going to get made, or if it's really going to be hot. I don't know which.
I'm going to say right now it's a dumpster fire, just by their track record. So if he'd have put the dumpster and then the fire emoji, I think it would have had more effect.
Would have been more effect, right?
I mean, it's all in the eye of the beholder, right? We've been,
right.
I mean, how long have we been talking about whatever we've been talking about for how long we've been talking about it?
Right.
And we still it hasn't yielded anything. So when we have results, we have it to talk about.
Yeah. I'm trying not to get too excited about it. Obviously I want to see it, but I will wait until we hear some official announcements. I mean, you see these people that come up with these clickbait sites of stuff that isn't accurate. It's just the garner gets on a website, and
it's like that goofy stuff. Like I texted you the other day. It's funny how this movie, The Marvels, comes out, and all of a sudden, all this speculation about is the MCU dead? Is the MCU dead? And stuff like that. I'm like, oh my god. I go, I mean, if a movie doesn't do $1 billion, that must be the barometer on whether a movie's going to be crap or not. And it's like, Jesus,
it's a failure. Only made $750 million. Oh,
give him a chance. And it's like, all right, well, that's fair. DC's been drudging that line of negative press for a decade now, so it's kind of nice to have it shift over to the MCU for a bit.
I don't know. Did you see that Momoa has been saying, this is his last run as Aquaman?
Yeah, I mean, we all know what's happening. He's not going to be that universe is going to be dead. It's going to be a send off, whatever they're going to do, and Gunn will pick and choose who he has to come over. Yeah. Now, if he pivots to another character, if they go with Lobo or something like that, sure. I mean, I think that's the consensus on who he should play as a character moving forward, and I think he would nail it nonetheless.
Yeah, I think you and I were both saying back when he was originally announced as being cast for Aquaman that we really saw him more as Lobo. Yeah,
he just seemed like it fit that role. And you also got to ask yourself, in lieu of everything that's been going on, why hasn't that character come to the limelight? I mean, Deadpool is probably just as bad. Yeah. I mean, come on.
But Lobo could feature into the Superman movie. He could feature into the Green Lantern movie. He could show up in the Green Lantern series. There's lots of things you could do with Lobo, and he has some good comedy relief too.
He really does. You can add him into the Lantern. I mean, the Lantern Corps, they've had run-ins. It's anyway. I'll be all in the eye of the beholder. I still want to see Aquaman too because I'm a big fan and it looks awesome.
Yeah, I do as well. All right, my friend. Well, onward and upward. We have a great comic book to talk about. So let's take a quick break, and when we come back, let's talk about Green Lantern #5.
Get it done.
This is Giancarlo Volpe, producer of Green Lantern, the animated series, and you're listening to the podcast of Oa.
All right, everybody, welcome back. And we're going to be talking a little bit, I shouldn't say a little bit, a lot of it about Green Lantern #5. Awesome book. We finally get some realization about what Sinestro is after on Earth. And obviously it's to get off of Earth. And he's obviously, because Hal's not helping, he's put in place his next plan. And like all of Sinestro plans, it's kind of a situation where heads I win, tails you lose. I'm going to get what I want one way or the other, right? You're either going to do what I need, or I'm going to get what I want out of my action, or in the course of you stopping me from that action, you're going to give me what I want anyway. So it starts out with really an interesting speech by Sinestro. I thought that was very interesting. It says a lot about the state of things in our world, and he says a number of things, obviously, and then out come the drone jets, and they are on the attack, which is something you and I, when we talked about that previous issue, we had said, well, what is he doing with these jets? And we both said, well, he's probably going to do something to sabotage them so he can use them.
Hacked him with his ring. Or no, he don't have a ring. No. Hacked him somehow.
He hacked him with alien technology. And of course, that sends first aircraft into a tailspin. And of course, it really makes it difficult for them to get this contract that they're trying to get. Although it does show how effective they are, but I'm not sure anybody's going to want to buy them after what goes on here. And we see that, they attack Hub City, and Hal shows up not really knowing what's going on. And Carol, of course, is desperate to get some kind of resolution. And so Hal takes off after them. And I can't say enough about the artwork in this issue. The scene where Hal just takes off, you see the sense of speed and motion on top of the great artwork, which I think is great. But the jets are trying to take out the drones. The jets aren't able to take out the drones. Hal shows up, takes one of them out in a really neat scene where he takes the missile and lassos it and loops it back around and takes the jet out.
That was just cool. I mean, the way he handles it and the arrogance he went into this at, he's like, it's almost like second nature to him to just flip that switch and be like, here we go, Sinestro again. We have to take care of this,
Right. And then once Sinestro realizes that Hal's involved, they go into stealth mode with the drones, which I'm surprised they didn't do it in the first place, but whatever.
Right.
I think the only thing I wish had been a little different was there's a guy that's working on telemetry. I don't remember his name, but I wish that had been Tom Kalmaku.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
His name is Nate, if I recall. Maybe. I don't remember the name. It's not really a major point. But Hal's on to the next one, and there's more, stuff going on. And Hal uses, Jeremy Adams pulls back some of the things that he's done in the past where he uses it again. And here we see where Hal's able to bend light and see different spectrums of light by creating this visor. You can now see this jets even though they're in stealth mode. And it was cool that they talked about it being a Rochester cloak, which is a real thing. So thought that was nice. Hal takes it out with a giant samurai sword. Looked, again, another very cool image. Sinestro's getting a little ticked at this point because he's getting foiled one way after the other.
Looks like he's pulling a Kylo Ren.
Right. And then the scene, which I thought had a lot of heart, Hal realizes what Sinestro is trying to do is Sinestro is trying to instill enough fear that maybe he can suck that fear energy into his ring, and that's how he'll get off Earth. So Hal lands in Tokyo and makes a great speech. I thought it was fantastic. It showed a lot of heart, a lot of character. I just thought that particular panel where he's talking about it. I mean, he gets his dig in at Sinestro. He talks about him being a failed cop, which I thought was, gotta dig in a little bit there. But that speech I thought was great. And you can see Carol, she's got that look of admiration on her face. Is the tide going to turn? Who knows?
I mean, I like the way she looks in this comic, man, because the artistry that they do on the facial stuff is really, really good. And even on how,
yeah, Zermanico really unsung. I shouldn't say unsung hero because everybody's talking about the art on this book. but just everything looks really good. You and I, if we go back to when we first saw the series get announced, I don't think either one of us was thrilled with the idea of the retro, the shoulderless look for Hal. But Sermatico makes it look good.
It's all right. It's not my favorite, but
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. Like, I'm okay. Like across the board with comic book characters, there's nothing wrong with small changes here and there. And I understand that there's, fans that don't like it. It's the same thing as the stupid Superman red trunk. It's like, oh, we should have trunks. Who cares? I mean, oh my God. And there were things to argue about. But at the same time, you can make it look good,
Yeah.
And this looks cool on here. I like how he's done it.
But that speech was exactly what I think. Obviously, the people here needed it to diffuse the situation with Sinestro. But I think we as comic book readers in the world and things that are going on right now, that speech really resonates. I don't know about you, but I really resonated with me.
Yeah, it was a good speech.
But then he goes off and, the issue he now has is that one plane is going to Washington, D.C., and the other one to Russia, if I recall.
Moscow.
Moscow. And so this really puts Hal in a situation because, again, this ring is different than what he's had before. He can only go so far up into the atmosphere before it stops functioning. He takes it to the very limit, and he takes them both out at once, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, I've never seen this. I've never seen this power of the ring before because he divides the power and has split constructs.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool, and I liked the choice of constructs, and they kind of use Ferris Air to kind of help him hone it because it requires a lot of precision. These things are think about how in the celestial version of things, in the grand scheme of things, these drones are relatively small. So here you've got somebody up in the upper atmosphere of Earth trying to hit two really tiny targets with a great deal of precision. So it takes a lot of control. And sometimes the criticism of Hal is that he's like a big blunt instrument, and this really shows his ability to do things with a great deal of finesse.
Yeah, that was ingenuity at that time.
Yeah,
and he's always been that way. I've always felt his character has been that way. He's backed himself in a corner. He's been backed in a corner many a times, and he's always found a solution to the problem. You can call it arrogance, you can call it whatever you want, but at least he's smart to do it.
Yeah, no, I've never bought into the whole arrogance thing. Yeah, he's cocky, he's self-assured, but I think that whole rapid cognition thing really jumps into play for me. But that 2-page spread where he takes both of those drones out at the same time was really, again, another really nice piece of artwork in this issue. It was the centerfold of the issue, essentially. Sinestro is then upset, and then Hal shows up, and he and Sinestro have words. And this is where Sinestro's the head you lose, tails I win shows up. He's so mad now that it looks like he's going to be holding on onto a red ring.
Yeah, I wonder where he would have gotten that from, though.
Yeah, and there's a little nugget of mystery and intrigue added here because he says that there's something going on with the emotional spectrum. So,
man, wouldn't it be kooky if they all of a sudden you could, like, if you held on to a certain emotional stream within your own psyche, that you could pull on that particular thread and create that significant emotional spectrum. So, like, if you're ticked off at a certain moment, you had the ability to bring up the rage spectrum.
Yeah,
on a whim, on demand. That'd be crazy.
It's interesting. I don't know what he's getting at here, but I think, by looking at the solicitations, we're going to find out within the next few months. I think this series has really picked up steam. This particular issue, this was the most high octane issue of this book. I mean, it was basically one prolonged action sequence when you get right down to it.
Yeah, it was good. I liked it a lot. And, and like you said, people were talking about it a lot too.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly was a fast read, but I enjoyed the heck out of it. To me, this is my favorite issue of the series so far.
Agreed. It has been cool. And, and I think I commented to Donnie the other day, talking about something. I was like, man, I can't wait till the United Planet stuff comes to a head. Man,
Yeah, yeah, me
I
too.
want to know more about these cats, man. I want to know what they got their hands in. I want to know how they're operating in the background, and what they're up to when they're doing it. It's just
Yeah.
really, really curious to see how these guys are going to operate.
I kind of see that as, as we've seen the solicitations coming up, it's obviously going to be coming to a head, and we're supposed to be getting some revelations about a whole bunch of things. I mean, it says in the preview for the next issue, Clash with Hate plus the Secret of House Earth Exile. So the answers are coming, and I can't wait.
Long time coming.
I can't wait. Yeah, yeah. And of course, we can't talk about this issue without talking about the Sin Sun backup. Again, for me, it's not an art style that resonates with me, so it takes me out of it. And I'm not sure how much I care about this kid. Uh, I I don't know. It doesn't do anything for me. This is basically a prolonged sequence again where he gets some credits. He is a Fagin type character. Nagath confronts him a little bit and gives him a little bit of information about his background, but nothing that really gives us any clues to what's going on. I mean, other than the fact that his mother dropped him off, he didn't even have a name yet. And we're not even sure if it was his mother. It just said you were elected by some lady.
Is there any validation that it's actually Sinestro's kid, or are they just calling it that just because it looks like Sinestro?
Basically, this kid gets dropped off. He's obviously Korgarian. He was dropped off by some lady. That's all it says. She never gave me your name. So I figured your birth world would do. So Korg is short for Korgar.
Yeah, well, that tracks.
So I think he really is the son of Sinestro just because of the fact that they're going to be doing the Sinister Sons as a book with the son of Zod and the son of Sinestro. So I think it tracks. I was jokingly saying, I think I said it in my review, that wouldn't have been funny if it wasn't Sinestro's son, but his grandson. And this is Kyle Rayner and Sornik Natu's kid.
That'd be a twist. That's something you'd see in a drama series.
They show up on Maury Povich with the DNA test,
Hey, we could you want to pivot in and we could even talk about the Batman Off-World preview? No.
Oh no. Oh, I didn't even see that was in there. I'm not really a big fan of the whole Sin Sun thing. Again, our style takes me out. I'm not really interested in the concept.
I'm not sure what it has to do with anything.
Right.
I just kind of feel like I mean, at some point if they make a comic out of this, and it leads to something, yeah. So, maybe I'll start reading it. I don't know. I don't have an attraction to this character. I don't care.
Yeah. I'm not really invested in it. So I don't know if I'll pick it up or not. I mean, I would always I like Peter Tomasi. I like most of the things he's written, but this just doesn't resonate for me. But all right. Well, we have some listener voicemails and some feedback. So let's pause for a minute, and when we come back, we'll get to your feedback.
Green Lantern's Myron and Phil, we have a voicemail from Ian. Preparing audio recording for transmission. Broadcasting in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, my name's Ian, and I'm a new listener with the new Jeremy Adams run of Green Lantern, and I really appreciate all you guys do to keep the discussion going and let people know about the Green Lantern lore. I was wondering if you had ever read any of the prose novels about the Green Lanterns that DC released, like Denny O'Neill's Green Lantern, I think it's Hero's Trial, about Kyle Rayner. It's kind of a second origin for him. And also the Christopher Priest trilogy of Green Lantern Sleepers, which kind of spoiled me for Ellen Scott because I really liked his relationship in that book, and now I found out that he never really had a relationship with that character in the comics. Keep the good work up, and I look forward to what you think about Green Lantern. Bye.
Hey, Ian, thanks for the voicemail, man. It's funny you mentioned the Green Lantern Sleepers books. Myron and I were talking off mic, and I honestly had forgotten completely about them in audio format when they came out. That would have been late 90s, 2000 maybe. Not
Yeah,
sure when they came out.
it was prior to Green Lantern Rebirth because this was during the
Yeah,
time when Hal was the Spectre.
right. So, but it's interesting you brought that up, and it makes me want to go out and reread them, especially the Alan Scott one and the Hal
So
Jordan one.
this I have this third volume, which is the Hal Jordan one, and this came out in 2004, so it ended in 2004. But it was a 3-book series written by Christopher Priest. There was a company, gosh darn it, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but they had a contract with DC and Marvel where they would take. There was a time when these kind of novels, whether they were originals or adaptations of stories turned into novels, were a big thing, and they had a contract to do these, and not as a red book, but as a full cast performance. And they did not Identity Crisis, Infinite Crisis, Crisis on Infinite Earths. And it was really cool because the voice actors that they would get for a character would carry through. So the Hal voice that you had in this book was the same Hal voice you got in Infinite Crisis.
You know, and it was really neat. It was
cool.
like reminding me of those old serial episodes, with the old Superman radio shows,
Yeah, exactly.
They're kind of cool,
It was very much like a radio show. That's a very apt description. It was very much like that. I have a number of them because they went away from doing these contracted things to just doing original content. And so they did a whole big sale on them. And they sold a lot of them. So I bought a bunch of them when they were on clearance. I was trying to see if I could find them.
I think I got all the audio ones saved on a hard drive I have somewhere. Because there's actually, you know what? I think I can bring it up right here. There's a slew of titles that came out with them.
Yeah, there was a whole bunch of different ones.
Here they are. Yeah, graphic audio. So we got Batman.
That's
Dead,
the ones. Yep. Yeah, graphic audio.
Batman Dead White. There's a few Batman ones. There's Countdown. There's Crisis. There's DC 52. There's Final Crisis. Hero's Quest. And then Sleepers, Infinite Crisis. GLA Exterminator. Last Son.
Final Crisis.
Yeah, and then Trial of Time. Superman, The Flash, Stop Motion. Wayne of Gotham, and Wonder Woman Mythos. There you go. Yeah, graphic audio. They had a slew of them, and they're really cool to listen to.
They are. And the Sleepers books were a three book. It was a trilogy, and the first book was focused on Kyle Rayner. The second book focused on Alan Scott, and the third book focused on Hal as the Spectre. But there's also a part where he becomes Green Lantern. And I think, if I remember correctly, I was reading an interview with Christopher Priest where he talked about he was going to be doing something. He thought this was going to be carried over into the comics, and so his plot had to shift because Green Lantern Rebirth was getting ready to come out. So he had to kind of pivot his story a little bit.
That's funny.
But yeah, I really enjoyed them.
I'm glad you brought that up, Ian. That's really cool, man. Because that makes me want to revisit them. And let alone I haven't read the books yet, so I'm going to start looking for them.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind collecting them.
He talks a little bit about the Alan Scott part of the story, and it's one of the problems I do have with this relaunch of Alan Scott is we know how the character has thought, and by making the sexual orientation change, it kind of undoes some of that. Yeah, in real life, you've had people who get married, and especially during that time frame, would have gotten married, and perhaps were not honest with themselves, but that kind of undermines the character of who Alan Scott is. And again, we got to see his thoughts, the purity of his thoughts. So there's some issues, and we haven't talked about that book yet. I think we will at some point, but it's one of the issues I have with it as well. And Ian doesn't come out and say that that's a problem. He does say it's kind of difficult because that relationship doesn't really exist now, and it gets involved with all the problems we have with DC shifting continuities and all that kind of stuff.
To put it frankly, it's a jarring shift for any reader to go from two different ends of the spectrum when it comes to what you term as sexuality and however you want to term it. It would be the same thing as if all of a sudden Bruce Wayne was a homosexual, and I'm sure it would appeal to a lot of readers and stuff like that. And I'm not saying it shouldn't be done, but it is a jarring switch from what you've grown so used to over the course of time with Bruce Wayne and Batman.
Especially with the seduction of the innocent and the allegations that were made.
Exactly. And there's also, and I mean, we can go back to the old Burt Ward, Adam West series. You know, there's always been that homosexual overtones that have existed in those kind of, you know, auras of those shows and how they were looking or whatever the case may be. And, you know, whatever, who cares, you know? But like I said, it's not easy for some readers to say, like, you know, it'd be like it's the same thing with Hal Jordan, or if Arthur Curry, if they all of a sudden Arthur Curry, you know, pivoted to some kind of like asexual life of the aquatic creatures. And it's like, okay, hold on, that's a little weird. It's going to take me a little getting used to.
It's I have a hard time when you change something that's foundational to the character. Yeah, it doesn't define who Alan Scott is, but if you've been with a character for a length of time and you have history with them, it's a little bit of a, like you said, it's a jarring change. I think in the Alan Scott, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of this whole topic, but personally, I think if Alan Scott had been made bisexual instead of homosexual, it would have made more sense, because then everything would have fit. It's
malleable and you could work with it, you know. And I don't speak for either community, so I know I can't relate to it. And, you know, and I tread lightly when we talk about stuff like that, because I don't want to get into a heated conversation, and I don't want to upset anybody. I'm all for it, and I'm all for whatever community decides of whatever they want to do. But at the same time, you know, I'm an educated person, and I also want somebody who's educated to educate me on the perception when it comes to the comic book world, you know. I mean, if you're a long time Alan Scott fan, and you this information is coming out, you know, how do you feel? I mean, it is what it is.
And their feelings are however they feel, whether they're okay with it or not okay with it. There's no right or wrong here. I mean, you feel the way you feel.
People are going to like it however they're going to like the book.
Exactly.
So.
Right. They're either going to like it or they're not. They're either going to support the book or they're not.
And Tim Sheridan's a good writer. I read the book. I loved it. I thought the storyline's going to be strong. You know, I do have my hangups on it because I'd rather other things outshine particular items, but I do think it's going to be a strong book.
I mean, we'll probably talk about the book at some point. For me, the problem I had with that first issue was a character's romantic life should be second nature to the adventurer, and I don't care about whether, if I'm going to read about a superhero, their romantic life is secondary to them being a superhero. And this book was flipped the other way around.
Well, and not only that, wouldn't you want to lead up to a romantic life? I mean, if you're going to tell a story, I mean, sure, you could have two people starting off in a relationship, but you don't have to automatically thrust it in people's face and draw the assumptions, and they can draw the assumptions as they go on.
Right.
But like you said, I like to focus on the story. Yeah.
For me, it was the balance between the hero's private life and the hero's public life as an adventurer. For me, I've always been more focused on that, and the other stuff is just add-on character stuff.
Sure.
It's never been the focus. And for me, it was very jarring the other direction. And I don't know whether that's because he's building up to something, and maybe that will become clear as more issues of the book come out. But
well, we do get a new Red Lantern, so there you go.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that either, but
he looks pretty cool.
Yeah,
you know, as long as they don't get obscure with his story arc, because everybody in the Lantern community knows that, you know, okay, hold on, this guy predates, you know, Jeff Johns and Blackest Night and Atrocitus and that whole regime. So if they're going to do it in a creative way that ties those two measures together, I'm okay with it. But if you're going to leave those disjointed and give no indication, well, hold on, why didn't we hear about this Red Lantern that's taking place in Alan Scott's world? Because surely we would have heard that name somewhere along the line.
Right. And the whole timeline is a little wonky too, because we know that Alan comes out to his kids in modern day,
right?
And yet he's a young man in the 40s, so his age doesn't line up unless there's something that happens. So there's that bit that's wonky. I'll be very honest, and I know there are people that will disagree with me, but I personally feel that the JSA characters belong on another Earth, rather than trying to fit them into our timeline. I liked the JSA and those characters better when they were on a second Earth than being part of ours.
Do you read Jeff Johns' new JSA book? It's pretty good too.
No, I haven't read it.
Yeah, it's pretty sharp. It's a lot better than that last travesty that they wrote, that Heroes in Crisis or whatever it was.
Oh yeah.
Oof.
But anyway,
All right, moving on.
we went off on a tangent, but it is what it is.
It
All
is.
right. Powering, why don't you give us our next message?
Our next message is from Clone Avenger, who has some feedback about the 2 current Green Lantern series. Transmitting in 3, 2, 1.
Thank you for all your great Green Lantern content every month. I agree, War Journal contains some of the best writing regarding John Stewart in comics in a long time, and I have enjoyed the first 2 issues and will continue reading it. Do you guys think we will see any other Corp in the main Green Lantern series? Would you want to see any other Corp appear? With Jeremy Adams writing the current title, and also having wrote for the Green Lantern animated series, one involving the Blue Lantern Corp, I would love to see his take on the other Corps. Also, I saw James Gunn was asked by one of his followers on Twitter for an update on the Green Lantern series. He responded with a fire emoji. At least we know it's still moving forward.
Hey, Clone Avenger, thanks so much, and thank you again and you and Ian both. We appreciate the fact that people like the content that we're providing, and we hope it's entertaining, and we hope it adds to your fan experience. That's really what it's all about for us. And yeah, the John Stewart book is great. It's been a while since we've had 2 good series, really good series, that feature arguably the 2 most popular Green Lanterns. And I think more is to come. I think this is the start of a new, of an Emerald Renaissance, as it were. I think we're going to see more. And I think when we look at the solicitations and seeing that Kyle's going to be back, I think that we're going to see more stuff as this world starts to unfold and the things that have happened start to get revealed. The universe will broaden more, and we'll see more there.
Hey, just so you know, Emerald Renaissance would be a great title for a book.
Wouldn't it though?
Yeah. And have all the core just kind of like behind, like Hal and then John and like Kyle, and they're all the cores following them. Yeah.
Do I think the other core in the emotional spectrum will appear? I think, given what Sinestro was saying about the emotional spectrum being a little wonky, I think we will. And there's something that Jeremy Adams said on social media the other day about issue 8, I think, or 6. I think it was 6. Maybe it was 6. That something's going to happen because you demanded it, kind of thing. And the speculation is that we're going to see Razor become a canon character. So hopefully we'll see.
And it would be good for Adams to be able to take that as the first writer, to put him in canon.
Yeah,
I think that would be noteworthy for him. That would be meaningful.
I think so. I think fans of Green Lantern the animated series would be eat it up. We've been wanting something like this for a while. So,
and you could easily spin him as leader of the Red Lantern Corps, in the process later.
Will you spin Aya into it at some point? I don't know.
Please.
How you would tie these things in together, I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. And he mentions as well the whole thing about James Gunn and his comment about the Green Lantern series. So, I'm cautiously optimistic. All right, Powering. Why don't you give us the next one?
I'll still say skeptical.
All right, Powering. Give us the next one.
Our next message is from War Lion, who has also some feedback about the current Green Lantern comics. Transmitting in 3, 2, 1.
Love catching up with you as soon as you drop the episodes. John's ex-girlfriend Myron from the 90s was a Darkstar. Her main Earth counterpart hasn't appeared since the last arc of GL Volume 3. Do you think that we can get more than 2 Lantern books like we did in the New 52? I really love the idea of getting to explore the other Corps and giving many characters the spotlight. I definitely don't need 7 books because of the limitations of money and time, but maybe 4 books focusing on the main 7 Corps would not be a bad thing.
War Lion, making some great points here. So first we're going to start it off, and Myron had to help me out a little bit along the way with this, and to your theory on who the Revenant Queen might be. And that's a sound theory. And Myron brought it to my attention, and I hadn't thought about it. And to be quite honest with you, I'd have to look back and see who the character is. But it's none other than John's ex-girlfriend, a girl named Myron, from 90s as a Darkstar. So, that'd be cool. And it's not it's not above and beyond for these writers to pull stuff from the past. It's to spin it in that kind of fashion. Plus, this one, the characters look alike, so I think that
Yeah.
helps.
There's a very similar look there. And I didn't read Dark Stars. That happened during the time frame when I stopped reading comics for a while, and I didn't read a whole lot of it. But then when I was catching up, I did see her, and I couldn't remember her at all. You know, age is catching up with me. But I think that's a very valid choice. It tracks because we know there's a connection to the Dark Stars here. And there's a connection between John and this character. It would make sense that this is this other version, other universe's version of that character.
Go
That's
Warlion. Warlion called it, man. You're on the mark, Warlion. We'll see what happens. But it's a solid issue, and man, I'm loving what's going on with Stewart. I think it's cool.
Her last appearance was during the Kyle Rayner run in Green Lantern number 174. So she has not been seen in nearly 20 years. So I think she's a lock for being that character. I'm pretty sure.
He also asked if we're going to get more than 2 Lantern books like we did in the New 52. Well, we are. I mean, we already have them now. You know, we got the Alan Scott. You know, we got Alan Scott book. You know, we got the Hal Jordan, and we got the John Stewart one. And not to mention that, you know, Kyle Rayner's going to be around soon, so that could spin off into something serious. Sinestro's son, he's going to have his own book. That's kind of a Lantern loosely related title. I don't care what's going on with Simon Baz. I hope he's filling orders somewhere. It's whatever he's working at. You know, fine by me. Cantilla, I don't know what happened to her. It looks like, I don't know. There's too many Lanterns that can go down my list, but we already have all the books, and I hope we get some more.
Yeah, I kind of hope that we continue to get backup features that might spin off into books. I think it's a great way to test, see if there's a concept that has an audience enough to support a book. So I can certainly see that happening. And
more books isn't necessarily a good thing.
No, I mean, that's true.
You could have fewer books and you could have solid backups to it, you know, like you and I keep bringing up, you know, have a Green Lantern core book. You could tell 3 stories in the span of a book that comes out bi-weekly, you know.
I mean, I can see trajectory. I could see having the main Green Lantern title, the John Stewart title, and having a Green Lantern core book.
Yeah. I mean, it's not hard.
No, I can see us getting to that point. I would love to see that happen, to be honest.
But I mean, if I had to theorize, if you're James Gunn and you're, you know, you got this Green Lantern core as one of your, I don't know, quote unquote toys to play with when he's doing his thing, you know, it would make sense for in a comic book world to have a lead up to where a core book could exist to coincide with whatever media they make, like with the movie or series or however they're going to spin this. I don't think a series would do much. I think they should do a movie. I don't know or if they're going to do a series, I don't think they should make it 10 episodes. I think it should be 6, you know. But anyway, Green Lantern core book, I'm all for it.
Definitely. All right, we've got one more piece of listener feedback. Power Ring, why don't you go ahead and let us hear it?
The last message is from JP Roca, who has some additional information about the United Planets, you know, the group currently messing up with the Green Lantern Corps. Transmitting in 3, 2, 1.
Following up from my comment and the other United Planet comments. First, the only place that DC is currently exploring the UP is the Green Lantern books. I looked back at some of the Thorne stuff to see if I can find out more about what he set up. His early issues actually do most of the setup with Oa trying to join the UP. Then it all went up in the air and was never settled after the disappearance and deaths of the Guardians and most of the Corps. The end of Thorne's run leaves Oa with a new power source, the Beacon, that Hal uses to remake his original ring again. Hal encourages the 600 other Green Lanterns on Oa to do the same, but not all of them become Green Lanterns as BDG because a Blue Lantern and Yolandi become a Star Sapphire, while Simon becomes the Keeper of the Fallen? So from there it is all where Jeremy Adams and Philip Kennedy Johnson that the Corps and the UP.
Hey JP, thanks for filling in the blanks a little bit more for us and filling some things out. Yeah, it looks like, you know, back during that previous run, there were some unresolved plot points, and I think we're going to get some of those things filled in as time goes on. I mean, there's definitely going to be a collision course between Hal and the United Planets, and where that leads, I don't know. I mean, I give a lot of respect to Jeremy Adams and Philip Kennedy Johnson for not just ignoring that run and trying to make it fit. Will a lot of those things get undone? I wouldn't be at all surprised. Do I think the badge is going to stick around as a Blue Lantern? Is Simon Baz going to continue to be the keeper of the fallen lanterns? I don't know. I understand that, part of what Thorne was trying to do is to get away from so many Green Lanterns we have that are earthbound, that are all the same, and trying to make them unique. And some of those things, I can respect some of that. But I just don't think it was executed very well. But how much of it sticks around? The writers could take it any way they want to take it. So I kind of want to see where things are going to go. I think we're going to see some of this unravel a little bit, because I don't see how the Green Lanterns can continue to go on with this whole United Planets piece going on at the same time. There has to be some kind of resolution there, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you can't continue this being the status quo. I mean, there's going to be more lanterns that people want to know. Not only that, the Guardians, for that matter. Not that I give a hoot about the little blue punks, but somewhere along the line, I would imagine they're going to appear at some point.
Yeah.
I theorize that if Earth is in a quarantine, I would imagine that Hal and company don't have a lot of contact with if there's any other lanterns out there, so they might not even know Hal's alive.
Well, I think they probably know that he's on Earth, because that was one of the things that we saw in the beginning from Adams, where he said where the Green Lanterns were, and that Hal was on Earth, but they didn't know he had a ring, and that's where they're going to have a collision, because he's not allowed to have a ring. We saw that already when they confronted John. So there's going to be some kind of a reckoning there, but I don't see it ending well for the United Planets and their leadership of the Corps. I think at some point we're going to see the Guardians come back again, and we'll go back to a more familiar status quo. Will we continue on with the beacon being the main power source? I see when the Guardians come back, they restore the power battery and hit the ground running with a new Green Lantern Corps book.
I like that. I can live and sleep happy with that tonight.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see what happens. I think right now I love to speculate about different things, but I'm very content with the status and the state of the Green Lantern universe right now. I haven't felt that way in at least 2 years. So
no, it's going really cool, man. I mean,
yeah.
The stories. I mean, I think the stories are moving at a great pace. I don't think they're moving slow by any means.
No.
I think they're moving well for what, and not only that, I feel like how the story is being written is really doing a lot of justice.
Right. I think the Green Lantern book started out maybe a little slow, but that was him kind of set the tone and set things up for where he's going to go. Because as you can tell by this issue, this issue traveled at Mach 5 from cover to cover.
Yeah, it really did. Really did.
So as always, thank you everybody for reaching out and sharing some of your opinions and asking some questions and being a part of the show, because that helps us, it stimulates conversation. So that's always really, really helpful. So Power Ring, why don't you tell everybody how they can be part of the show?
You can become a part of the show by leaving a message up to 1 minute long on our voicemail line. Call us at 406-POD-OA. That's 406-763-6362. You can also email us at podcast@blogofoa.com. We'd love to hear from you.
All right, Phil Owens, welcome back. Well, you know what? That was a great issue. And, the positive note is that, like, each issue keeps getting better and better and better, and you start off with issue 1 and, we're here in issue 5 already. 5, right? And
yeah,
already you could tell a difference in the structure and the makeup of the book. I mean, you really can. And usually by the 3rd, you know whether you're going to like a book or not. But 5th, I'm still hooked. I want more.
Yeah. I mean, Night Terrors was a little bit of a detour, but it didn't really, in the grand scheme of things, really have a huge detriment to the series.
I don't think it did either. Sure, it was about the timing and stuff like that, but I don't think it detracted from the overall purpose of what Adams is trying to do.
No, I don't think so either. I think he looked at it as an opportunity to flesh out the characters a little bit. and help him build the story he's trying to build. And I for one, am very, very happy.
Yep. Yeah, it's a cool time to be a Lantern fan.
Yep. Both books, great writing. Both books, great art. What else can you ask for, right?
I'm not going to ask for anything else. I'm good.
Yeah. So on Thanksgiving, we're both very thankful for having some great Green Lantern content right now.
Very much so. I might have to say that when we're at Thanksgiving. What are you thankful for, Green Lantern?
All right, my friends. Well, we'll be back in a couple weeks. I think next time we'll be talking about the next issue of Green Lantern War Journal, and then somewhere we've got to fit in talking about Godzilla versus Kong in the Justice League and the Alan Scott series. So somewhere we're going to fit that in. Maybe we do a bonus episode sometime in the next few weeks and do both of them in one issue or one episode.
Cool.
And you get caught up with them. But
sounds good to me.
All right, friends. Well, we are thankful for you, and thank you for letting us be a part of your Green Lantern fan experience. We hope you've had a good time and enjoyed this episode. And we'll be back in a few weeks to talk about John Stewart's next adventure. So until next time, keep that power ring charged, treat each other well, and make every day your brightest day.
Thanks so much for watching this Green Lantern video from the blog of Oa. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can find even more great Green Lantern videos, reviews, podcasts, and more at our main website, www.blogofoa.com. So until next time, keep your power ring charged and make every day your brightest day.